All right. Hello, everyone, on this wonderful Thursday evening. I am logging in. Hopefully, we've got other people logging in, so I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes. But I wanted to say welcome to the Bottom Line Live. We are doing a special Bottom Line Live today where we're going to talk all about 1099s. And I know that is my favorite subject. Of course, it's probably yours as well. There are a lot of people that are trying to file 1099s right now, and people are calling me with questions. The other day, a couple of days ago, I had 5 friends in a row call me back to back to back with bookkeeping and 1099 questions. And I basically, on the 5th one, I answered the phone and I was laughing and I said, "You are the 5th person in a row to call me." So they were like, "Well," I was like, "I'm assuming you have a bookkeeping or tax question or 1099." He's like, "Well, I was going to say hi first," which is, very nice that he was going to say hi first. But he did have a bookkeeping and tax question. Luckily for all of these people, I can usually answer the questions in about 5 minutes. So, when my friends asked me, I happened to have a few minutes at the time in between other meetings. And I said, "Great, yeah, let me," one person, I said, let me hop on your screen. Let me show you," because she had been trying to fix something in QuickBooks for a couple of hours. And we did it in about 2.5 minutes. And with everybody else, it was like 1099 questions and different things. So I have gone over 1099 several times. And if you guys have seen my other things, but also 1099s change. One thing that was supposed to be in effect for 2023 that actually isn't is we were going to have the third-party platforms such as Venmo and Cash App be reporting 1099, so that if you would have paid someone on one of those platforms, they were going to issue the 1099, but the IRS basically delayed that ruling, so they are not doing that. So people who were expecting to not have to file 1099s because of that, that is delayed. That is going into effect, it looks like, if everything goes according to plan, for 2024. So that's the first thing that I wanted to say, is that any, I have hair in my face, that's fun. Any service provider, vendor that you paid $600 or more, you have to send them a 1099. Unless, there's a few unlesses, which I will go over, and I'm going to start with those. But if you paid them on a credit card, then you do not have to send a 1099 because the credit card will issue it. Also, if you paid them through PayPal Business, if you have a PayPal Business account, you do not have to 1099 them. But I know most of you, because I've seen a lot of bookkeeping in my life, most of you use your personal PayPal account. So that will not get 1099. You have to issue the 1099 from your company. Okay, now I want to go over, let's see, do we have anyone else trying to get in, or any questions before I start my spiel on 1099s? Because I have a whole spiel, guys. So if you want to jump in, if there's anything specific that you want to know, now is a good time. I've got some people live on Zoom. I've got some people on Facebook. So, okay, I'm going to continue. But jump in if you need any clarification, if you have any questions on something that I just said. Okay, so first thing is, a lot of what people consider as a contractor that needs a 1099 is lacking. It's missing a lot of things. So most people go, yeah, if I hire a contractor, I give them a 1099, I know that, but I didn't hire any contractors. But that's not actually the case. We're lacking. It's not just a contractor that you consider a contractor. If you own a business and you hire someone to do work for that business, and it doesn't matter what type of work it is, any service work, right? So even if they are doing the landscaping for your company, they would get a 1099 if they qualify. If they are doing marketing for your company, any type of marketing, digital marketing, social media marketing, printing out ads, anything like that. If they're a service, they would get a 1099. If you hire someone to clean your office, they would get a 1099. If you hire someone to wash the windows for your company, they would get a 1099. If you are a general contractor, obviously, yes, you're hiring contractors. So if you hire tradespeople as a general contractor, they would get a 1099. There's just so many more types of services that you don't consider need a 1099 that do. And it's basically, if you paid a service company or individual from your business and you paid them more than $600 and they're not on a credit card, you need to give them a 1099. Now, obviously, I'm doing a whole webinar here on 1099s, so there is more to it than that. It does get a little bit more detailed. So if they're a corporation, not including doctors, hospitals, and law firms, they wouldn't need a 1099. How are you going to know if they're a corporation or not? Here's what you do. Secret trick. You guys ready? Before you pay any service provider, any vendor that's not for a product or like utilities, so I'm not talking phone bill or Starbucks, but a marketing company, a advertising company, your accountant, your lawyer, anybody, or even just, let's say someone sends you a referral and you are going to pay them, even if you're only paying them, $100, get them to give you what's called a W-9. A W-9 is a really, really simple form that you can get from the IRS website, and it basically just asks for their name, their business name, their tax ID, which is either going to be their social security number or their EIN if they have an EIN, right? Which is just it's a tax ID number. Their employer identification number, which you would get from the IRS. So if they have one of those, like they're an LLC or a corporation, they would have an EIN. So you need to know it's either an individual with a social security number or it's going to be a company with an EIN. And then it's going to say on that form what their tax structure is. It's going to say if they're a sole proprietor, it's going to say if they're an LLC. If they're an LLC, it's going to say if they are taxed as an S Corp or as a C Corp or just as an LLC or a partnership, all these things. So if they're taxed as a corporation, whether it's S corporation or C corporation, then you would not issue a 1099 unless it's a law firm, hospital, or doctor. Why is it that way? I don't know. The IRS likes to make things complicated. If they made it simple, you'd be able to do it yourself. You wouldn't have any questions and you wouldn't have to hire anyone. So I guess the IRS is creating jobs. So let's thank them for that. Thank you, IRS, for creating jobs in the US, because nobody can do taxes on their own because they are so freaking complicated. So do we have any questions yet? I feel like I always get tons of questions on this. Okay, here's a case study of something someone ran into recently. She was paying people for referral commissions, and she was just, sending them a Zelle or sending them a check or however she was paying them. And she didn't ask them for a W-9 before she sent them the payment. They did not know that they were going to be 1099. And when she, at the end of the year, asked them all for W-9s, several of them got very upset, very offended, said, I'm not going to send you, I'm not going to send you referrals anymore because I didn't know this was going to be 1099. And she had to decide to either, there's a few ways she could have handled it, but she basically had to decide that she wasn't going to take those as an expense so she doesn't get to take it as a tax write-off because she's not able to 1099 it. What happens if you were to get audited and you're taking expenses for service providers and not sending a 1099? First of all, there are penalties and fees, but also you are liable for their self-employment tax. So if you were to ever get audited, you would end up owing potentially a lot of money on people that you didn't send 1099s for. So because of that potential liability, she decided that she was going to not count those as business expenses, not take it as a write-off. She was going to consider that that was profit, owe taxes on it herself, so she didn't have that potential liability. But now here's the thing I said to her. Why would anybody think that there's free money? There is no free money. Any money that you receive, you have to pay taxes on. I mean, except for gifts, right? If your grandmother gives you money, fine. Or you get a loan or an investment, that's a whole different thing. But if someone is paying you a commission or paying you because you did something for them, and especially if it's a business or a professional, they are paying you for doing something for them, they're considering that as a business expense, and it's a tax write-off for them. If it's a business expense and a tax write-off for them, then that means you pay taxes on it. So if you, now of course, if it's less than $600, they're not going to send a 1099, and you are going to probably, I don't know, you should still report it on your taxes, but you might not. Some people don't, but it's not a gift. It is taxable income. You are supposed to report any income that you receive as on your taxes as taxable income, even if it's cash, even if you get paid cash. So I'm just telling you guys this. The IRS is getting more and more and more strict. I did a webinar earlier today for non-filers, people who haven't filed taxes in a long time, with a law firm, with a lawyer, and he was really telling us that the IRS is buckling down on this stuff, and the best thing to do is just to file it. Now, have I ever seen the IRS penalize someone for not filing a 1099 or filing a 1099 late? No, I haven't. So I will be honest, I have not seen that, but they could literally do it. It's in their policies that they can. And by being a US citizen, you are agreeing to all the IRS policies, and therefore they can tax you. You are agreeing to be taxed by being a US citizen. If you don't want to pay taxes to the IRS and you don't want to pay taxes in the United States, the only thing you can do is not live in the United States or not make any money at all. But I don't know how you live in the world without making money. So those are your options, guys. So if any business is paying you money for anything, just realize this, whether you're an individual or a business, you are going to owe taxes on that. If they give you $1,000, I'm not saying you're going to owe taxes, but it has to get reported as taxable income. If you have enough deductions, obviously you might not owe any taxes, but it's taxable income. So I said to her, since we're still talking about this case study, that's crazy. I don't know why they would have thought that it's free money, because there's no such thing as free money. All money is taxed. Let's just, we know this. As if you're an employee, you get taxes taken out, and when you get your W-2, it shows how much you paid in taxes. If you get a 1099 because you're not an employee or an independent contractor, because you did any service or got a commission or anything at all, then you have to pay the taxes and the self-employment taxes yourself. And the self-employment taxes and payroll taxes end up being, about the same. So let's keep that in mind. Okay. If you are an employer and you are hiring contractors to do work for you, not as an employee, I want to go back to, let's get W-9s before you pay them. Before you even have them do anything for you is best. Because especially if you're in places like California, you cannot guarantee that the people have a tax ID number. And then if they do work for you already and now you have to pay them and they go, sorry, I don't have a social security number, what are you going to do? It's going to be real hard. You can say on your bookkeeping, you can say in your books, like, I paid these undocumented people, and you can tell your CPA and they can tell you the best way to handle it. But you need a 1099. When you go to Home Depot in California or other places and hire people and you call them day laborers, and you pay them more than $600, even if you pay them less, you need to make sure that they have valid tax IDs. They don't have to have a social security number either. They can get just a tax ID number from the IRS, right? So they can pay taxes. But you got to keep this in mind because, again, if you were to ever get audited, and this is about covering your butt, right? It's not to say that you are going to get audited. I hope none of you get audited ever. But if you were to get audited and the IRS starts looking into that and they see that you haven't filed 1099s, they're going to ask why. Okay, well, you've taken all these as business deductions, right? Well, yeah, I hired the day laborers. Okay, so where's the 1099s? Well, I didn't ask for a W-9 and the end of the year I couldn't get a hold of them. Or when I asked for their tax ID number, they didn't have it. So that's on you as a business owner to find that out before you do work with them, before you contract them for labor. Like I say, hire them, but it's not payroll, right? Here's another thing to keep in mind going to the next thing. I'm just going to talk fast. It was only a half-hour webinar, and I know that this is a big topic. So again, if anybody has any questions and anything specific that I'm saying, feel free to ask. I answer questions. This is why I'm doing this, because I've gotten so many questions and things change all the time. So here's why we're doing this. Sometimes business owners tell me that they're paying themselves payroll. And when I go and look in their books, they're not paying themselves payroll. They're sending themselves money. They're doing a transfer to their bank account, right? So I always want to clarify and make sure that we're using the correct words for this because it makes a difference for tax purposes. If you are paying yourself payroll, that means that you are receiving a W-2 at the end of the year and there's taxes coming out. And you're usually using a payroll service like QuickBooks Online Payroll, Gusto Payroll, Rippling Payroll, Paychex Payroll, ADP Payroll. And because, again, the IRS wants to make all these things really complicated to put more companies in business. So thank you, IRS. But you're going to most likely end up hiring or using a payroll service because otherwise it's very complicated to do all those calculations and pay all the tax, entities yourself. So keep this in mind that as a business owner, if you are incorporated as an S corporation, even if you're an LLC that's elected to be taxed as an S corporation, you have to be on payroll, actual payroll, W-2 payroll. If you have transferred yourself money to your bank account and you're calling it payroll, that's not payroll. And at the end of the year, unless you have a loss, if you end up with a loss, maybe your CPA will say, okay, you don't need to run a payroll because you have a loss, so there's no profit. But if you show profit in your books at the end of the year, which is not the same as having profit in your bank account, right? We're talking about your profit would be defined as, for taxes, all of your income minus your tax deductible expenses. So money that you spend on personal things is not tax deductible. Money that you transfer to your personal account is not tax deductible. So it's considered profit, regardless of the fact that it's no longer in the company bank account. Profit is not what's in the company bank account. Profit is what is when you subtract out all the tax deductible expenses from the full total income, what is left. That's the profit, right? Even if you paid back loans with it or things like that, you didn't pay taxes on the loans when you first got the loans. So you don't get the business expense of the loan, only whatever you spent the money on, right? I hope I'm making sense. Again, feel free to ask any questions or any clarification you want. So as a business owner, I just wanted to clarify that. So there's payroll where you're on a W-2, which you need to be on if you're elected to be taxed as an S Corp, which most small businesses in the US are. And then there is, distributions or shareholders expenses or all these other different names you can call it that are not payroll. And you have to make sure when you're talking to tax professionals, bookkeeping professionals, that you use the right terms so that you're both speaking the same language and you are both can operate forward, on the same page. Because if the bookkeeper or CPA thinks you have payroll and you're paying taxes on your W-2 and you're actually just transferring money to your bank account, then you might end up owing a bunch of money to the IRS at the end of the year. So you don't want that. So you want to all be on the same page. Okay. If you get clients that pay you in cash, do you have to put that in your bank account and report it? Yes, you do. whether or not they're reporting it. I mean, you know, we hope everyone is being ethical and legal, but whether or not they're reporting it, or whether it's even, you know, if you clean houses and little old ladies pay you in cash and it's not even a tax deductible expense for them, you're just cleaning for them and you're not going to get any 1099s, you still have to report that as income. Then if you hire other cleaners to help you and you pay them in cash, you also have to 1099 those people. So I'm saying all this because I want to keep you guys safe. It's not like fun for me to file 1099s either. I probably still have like 1,000 1099s to file by the end of the month. So it's not like my favorite thing to do. In fact, I wish I could hire someone once a year to just do them all for me because they're a pain in the butt. But I'm just telling you guys this because this is legal rudiments and this is what's going to keep you safe. You have to file the 1099s. You have to, and if you don't know who you need to 1099, you got to do your bookkeeping. When you do your bookkeeping, then you'll easily see, okay, here's the contractors that I paid. Here's the service organizations that I paid. Then if you haven't already, get the W-9s, see who you paid, you know, in credit cards. So you don't 1099 them only for 2023. That's probably changing for 2024. Hope for 2024, at least for business owners, the filing requirement is going to get easier because it's only going to be people that you paid in cash or check or, you know, ACH bank transfer. If you paid anybody by any third-party vendor, assuming the IRS actually does this, then that's going to be easier on business owners. But there's going to be a lot of people who don't like that because they maybe weren't expecting those 1099s because they were smaller amounts or they were this or that. And there's not going to be a way of hiding income anymore. I mean, of course, other than cash, but this is what I'm saying. We got to be ethical. We got to do things right. If the IRS finds out, you're going to end up owing a lot of money. And they have ways of finding out. You know, they get all the 1099s, they get all the W-2s. If you sell a piece of property, they get the data. They have access to, you know, crypto records, like data. They have all this. So you might as well do it right. Keep your nose clean so that it's done. Now, most of you that I'm talking to, you don't have this issue. You're not trying to hide income. You're trying to do it right. And you just maybe didn't know that you were supposed to file a 1099 for the guy that mows the lawn for your company or the lady that comes and cleans for your company, which is not the same as someone cleaning for your house, unless it's a home office, potentially if you take that as a business expense, right? But we're talking about for your office. Now, the other thing that you always have to 1099 as a business owner is when you have rent as a business owner, not your personal rent for your home, but if you rent an office space, which I know less and less of us are doing, but if you rent an office space, then that rent gets 1099. The rent amount gets 1099 to the company that's renting it to you. So keep that in mind as well. Those are the different 1099s. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up here in a minute. I've got people on here. No one's asking questions. I feel like you guys should ask questions because otherwise it means that I'm really making a lot of sense, or you're going to just ask me later. If you do have questions later, you are allowed to ask. You can email me, maya@solvencynow.com. You can message me on Facebook. I always answer my messages, which is, I think Maya Weinreb is my Facebook. Maya Weinreb, very simple. You can find my Instagram. You can message me. I also have Solvency Now Bookkeeping on Facebook or on Instagram. You can go to my website, solvencynow.com. You can go to YouTube, which I believe is under Solvency Now Bookkeeping. And you can watch this video. You can watch my webinars. I talk about 1099s a lot. And yeah, so YouTube, TikTok's not that helpful, but you can message me on TikTok. I'll get the message. You can probably send a smoke signal and I will see it and I will help you. But I do want to warn you that all the 1099s are due January 31st. And so I'm going to go be buried in 1099 avalanche. So if you contact me today and you need like a bunch of 1099s filed, I may not be able to help you for the deadline, but I can give you information on what is needed. Okay, so let me just check one more time. None of you guys have any questions because I'm so good at explaining this. I'm very happy If you do have any questions, like I said, Maya@solvencynow.com. You can go to my website, solvencynow.com. You can reach out to me on Facebook, Maya Weinreb, Instagram, Maya Weinreb, however you want. I always answer people within 1 business day. Even with tax deadlines, I'm feeling the heat, guys. Lots of you are emailing me, but you know what? I'm here to help. My purpose is to help business owners succeed. The mission statement for my company is complete and perfect financial records for the business owner's peace of mind. And that is what we're doing. Okay, I have said my piece about 1099s. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back soon with another Bottom Line Live about something very exciting and important. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to find out, because there's always exciting and important things in taxes and bookkeeping. And I will see you guys also soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.